After a Gifford shooting, members of Congress are expressing concern over their own security and their own safety.
You want to be as open and as accessible as possible, and that's what really hits home when you see what happened with Gabby. We all do these kinds of things. We're not going to slow down in doing that, but maybe we need to formalize having some people that can take care of a situation if it arises, if we have another lunatic like this guy.
Well, now Pennsylvania Congressman Robert Brady, a Democrat, is proposing a new law that would make it a federal crime to use language that could be perceived as a threat against a member of Congress or a federal official. But should this kind of law be passed? Joining us right now is political strategist and founder of the Keelen Group, Matt Keelen, screen right there, and former congressman from Pennsylvania, Bob Edgar. Good morning to you, Bob, as well.
It's good to be with you.
Bob, you think this is a great idea?
No, I think this is a time to lower the rhetoric. We don't need new laws. We need a new attitude. We need Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals to find a way to have civil conversation with each other. I think all of us recognize that the level of rhetoric has gotten so harsh and so violent that people on the fringe, people with psychiatric issues, they can pick up signals that
Bob,
politicians...
do you think this guy was driven to do this by rhetoric?
I think that our society is driving a lot of hate speech, and we've got to stop the hate speech. We don't need a law to do that. We need a change in culture, and I appreciated what the leader of the House of Representatives, Congressman Boehner, did by saying an attack on one is an attack on all.
Sure.
He took the health care debate off the floor this week, all legislation. Now it's time maybe to come together. Maybe they ought to have a joint retreat with Democrats and Republicans, finding a way to have dialogue with each other rather than discussion, percussion, and using all of that excessive rhetoric.
Well, they did come together in a bipartisan way yesterday. They had a conference call, and 800 members of Congress and their spouses were on the phone trying to figure out what to do next. Matt, you don't like the suggestion by Congressman Brady because you feel the members of Congress shouldn't be treated differently than the rest of us.
Well, all you have to do is go on a Google search of yourself, and you find a lot of interesting things when you're on the internet that a lot of people didn't know were there. For example, someone could look up where I live and around how much money I make and personal items that I don't think anybody's should be out there. So I don't think specializing a law that just says you can't have this with members of Congress is the way to go right now.
Matt, Congressman Brady says he's not pointing at any particular party when he suggests that he thinks that this is necessary. Do you believe him at that?
I believe him. I am a little troubled by some of the rhetoric on some on the left trying to pin this on people like Sarah Palin, and I think we all need to step back, as Congressman Bob said before, and take the rhetoric down and figure out what the problem is that led to this, and it's, if anything, a pox on both houses.
All right, Bob, I'll give you the final word on this.
Well, I think it's important for Democrats and Republicans to lower the rhetoric. We shouldn't use language like lock and load or putting people in the crosshairs or excessive language like Nazism, etc. We've got to calm the issues. I served in Congress for 12 years. I served on the Select Committee on Assassinations. I interviewed James Earl Ray. I know something about kooks who go off on the wrong way. We've got a lot of that in our society, so elected officials should not fall into that pattern. We ought to lower the rhetoric and be kind to each other.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for having a kind debate on this particular topic. Matt Keelen from the Keelen Group and Bob Edgar, former congressman and the president of Common Cause. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Steve. Take
By
care.
the way, good to have you as well.